Hi everyone, it's Eric from ecomment12.blogspot.com and welcome to my full review of the Nokia Lumia 830. Now, big thanks must go over to Nokia for sending me this over to review, and a link to their website will be in the video description. Now, you've seen me do various coverage videos of this smartphone, including doing a rear-facing and front-facing camera test, and also a gaming performance test. Well, in this video I'll be giving you my full review and letting you know what I think of this entire handset. Now, I've used it for about a week and a half at this point, and I think that's more than enough time for me to come to my conclusions and my final verdict. So what I'm going to do is start off with the bad aspects of this phone first. We'll get those out of the way, then move on to the really good things about this phone. This one is more of a nitpick, but one of the problems I sort of noticed first was this camera shutter button. Now, it does allow you to half press to focus first, then take the photo, but I think it needs more give. There's not enough sort of like space to half press it, especially in this cold weather when your hands are cold. Normally with the Lumia 930 I was able to like half press the button very easily, and I could feel I half pressed it. With this you just have to sort of like tap it in order to half press it, and if you do more than a tap you've taken the photo, which I really don't like. I really don't like the fact that it does that at all. So I think that there should have been like it should have been a bit more travel to half press the button first, and then you could press it all the way to take the photo. It's a small nitpick, you should be able to get used to it over time, but I don't think it's as nice as on the previous Lumia smartphones. Another thing which was not as good as you saw in my gaming performance test was that the performance for a £300 smartphone I think could have been a bit better. This does have a 1.2 GHz quad-core Snapdragon 400 processor, but I just think that it should be able to run games like Asphalt 8 better than it did. I know it's a mid-end smartphone, but still, it should be able to run that game better than it did. It did lag a bit. And my final complaint is the lack of apps. Yeah, you know I'm always going to say this, but Windows Phone as a whole, its main problem is the lack of applications in the Windows Phone store. It just really is a problem whenever you're looking for certain apps, and it just doesn't feel as varied of an experience. It feels like you're kind of limited in that sense. That being said, the store is very, very nice to navigate around, but I just wish it had more applications. But they are coming, but they're just coming very, very slowly. And those are all my negatives. Now let's move on to the really good things about the smartphone. The build quality, first of all. When I took this out of the box, I was just amazed with the build quality, and for a £300 smartphone, this does wow me, this exact same way I was wowed by the Nokia Lumia 930. The 930 did feel a bit more premium, but this still feels very premium in its own right. It didn't feel like they skimped much either. I still like this sort of like stainless steel metal band going around the circumference of the smartphone, and these buttons are very well, are very well placed, and they've got very, very nice tactile feedback to them. I did have to get used to the power button at first, seeing as it's being like slapped in the center, as opposed to every other smartphone having it either over here or over here. I did have to get a bit of getting used to of this, but to tell you the truth, I did get used to it really quite quickly, and it was a very nice placement. The other thing I liked was the camera. Now, the camera for photos I think is great. It's not as good as, say, the Nokia Lumia 930 or some other high-end Nokia smartphones, but it's still very good, and for this price point, I cannot complain. The photos this captures, I think, are really good, and it is a 10 megapixel camera. Now, the thing where I think this really shines is on the 1080p video. The video quality is very, very crisp, and is really, really nice to look at, and is a very nice field of view as well. And what it also has is a Dolby enhanced audio with the microphone, so you have some extra good quality audio to capture. The only thing I was not really that impressed with was the front-facing camera. Now, although it did look pretty decent, one of my problems with actually using the front-facing camera to record video was that the audio sounded more muted and very distant if you check back on my front-facing camera test with this. I think that was a major problem, and that was something I really did sort of like find an issue with. But apart from that, using the rear-facing camera is some of the best I've seen, especially at this price point. And also, I just love how with this smartphone, it's actually a bit confusing to show you this with my studio lights, but basically if you take this out of your pocket, what will actually happen is that the light, they'll show the clock on the screen without you having to press anything to turn it on. So I think that is a really, really good feature that is able to do that. And you can also double tap the screen to wake it up as well, so you don't have to like always reach out for that power on and off button, and then you go straight into the actual home screen. And this is the beautiful Windows Phone interface, which I really do love and adore. And let's get a game going. Let's go into Call of Dead. It's actually a game I did not show you in my game performance test video, so I can actually give you an extra look at another game for the full review. Okay, let's get this started, and is a bug right here. You can start shooting. Now, that was by no means one of the best games on the Windows Phone Marketplace, but it's just an extra little additional game I thought I'd show you. My main Game Informance test was in my Game Informance video, so a link to that will be in the video description below, as will the rest of the videos in this series. So overall, I really am impressed with this smartphone. The screen as well, which is one of the main aspects. It's a 5-inch screen, and it's a 720p panel, and it's an IPS display as well, so it's not like an AMOLED screen or anything like that, but I'm still very impressed with the actual look of the screen. It's got very, very nice colours. It's very, very crisp. Despite being a 720p panel on a 5-inch screen, it just looks really, really good. Yes, the colours have not got that same punch to it as on the AMOLED screen versions, or like say the Nokia Lumia 930, but again, you're not paying that much for this version. And since it's an IPS display, you get fantastic viewing angles as well. Now, remember, I've got studio lights shining directly at this thing, but when you're outdoors in realistic sort of lighting, you know, when it's not that bright, and especially in this winter, it's not going to start being bright at all, especially with the cold weather coming in. You can see the screen pretty much at every angles, and it just really is very, very impressive. Again, I really do love the build quality. It's also quite different to see the charging socket at the top of the smartphone as well. Normally it's either at the bottom or at the sides. But as you can see, a very slimline smartphone. It's not that thick. It's got a very nice grip, very, very comfortable to hold, and overall it's just been a fantastic experience. I really am growing to love the Windows Phone operating system even more and more than when I previously used it. So guys, that's my review of the Nokia Lumia 830. Overall, I think it is a fantastic smartphone, and if you do not want to pay the full £500 to get a top-end Windows phone, then I think this is a reasonable price downgrade, but you're still getting really good specifications and a really good build quality and all-around fantastic smartphone. Thanks very much for watching. This has been Eric from ecomma12.blogspot.com. You can also find me on my social networks. I'm on Twitter, Facebook, Google+, and Instagram. And I'll see all of you next time. Take care.